What's up, man? What? Yeah.
I like that. It's beautiful.
Little mice. Hey, look at this, you guys. Look.
Gotta be more orange.
Oh, no.
Uzo. Just one head works right now.
Keep yourself.
Poor projector.
Did you make these heads for this, or did you have them already?
We made it for this.
It's styrofoam. It's like the kind of insulation from some of the lumber, and it's all laminated together with like 1970s cheap wood paneling adhesive. It kind of comes in a big bucket.
You are hurting me.
And how would you describe it?
We made a plaster cast of my face. We measured the contours of the face. Traced them out on the foam core.
My life is over.
And we projected, but we cut out the foam core, projected it on the big foam, traced it with a pen. Then Bill built a foam cutting device, and then we cut the foam, and we made these big giant cross sections of the head, like the layers. Then we glued the layers together. I hate you. And Bill ground the layers with a grinder.
Like a CAT scan.
Yeah, it's like a CAT scan. Yeah.
Alright.
This is gonna go out though.
All two of us watching, we'll jump back into the Welcome to Monsteropolis audiobook. Left off at chapter 36. Pure vodka. Okay, water. Chapter 36. What the crap? Baron shouted as he awoke with the start. What happened? We here, Nurpex replied. So I pumped. Oh man, nothing wrong with that, Baron said, getting a sweet contact pump going. He kicked open the cab door, grabbed Grindax, and threw a wad of earth money and birdseed into the passenger seat. Oop. Hold on.
I think that one should reject injections.
It's definitely better to read in blacklight, even though Kesley said it makes me look like a ped.
Hello?
He kicked open the cab door, grabbed Grindax, and threw a wad of earth money and birdseed into the passenger seat in case Nurpex was down for one but not the other. Fuck! The bird monster yelled while chucking both into his glow beak. He tore off into the night, weaving across both lanes of traffic. In the dense Monsteropolis fog, his taillights wrote in perfect cursive. The city here is like an open sewer. You should just flush it right down the fucking toilet. Taxi drivers, Baron laughed. He turned to face the Monster Hotel and was met with the snarling snout of a gigantic, tusked rhinoceros bellhop. Bags? It Golem groaned while searching around Baron's feet. Nah, man, Baron answered. You can chill. We don't have any. He tried circumnavigating the monster, but it stepped in front of him and furrowed its brow. Bags! It growled, raising a door-sized hand to stop the duo from proceeding. Oh, bags, Baron mimicked. I thought you said brags or frags or soft-shell crabs or do you have the guts to take home a glowing piece of the crag? But you said bags. Bags, the monster confirmed with a nod. Gotcha. Well, you're in luck. We definitely have bags. And guess what? The rhinoceros bellhop leaned in hopefully. So do you! Baron shouted in a sweet game show announcer voice. He swung Grindax between the monster's legs, smashing him right in the ding-dong and ding-dong sack. The monster's eye/tusk crossed as he grabbed his crotch, fell to the ground, and violently vomited. He knew that he needed to get to a hospital, fast. His mind raced with the thoughts of how he didn't have health insurance, and how he never should have left culinary school and abandoned his dream of becoming an obese chef monster. Those thoughts were quickly replaced with ones about internal bleeding, irreparable reproductive damage, his wife sobbing when he tells her he can't give her a child. She had been asking for years, but the time just wasn't right, and now it never would be. He began to cry and writhe in the cement. Yeah, right in the beanbag, Grindax laughed. He and Baron slapped 5 and busted into the Monster Hotel. The lobby looked so baller. It was at least 300 floors high in atrium style, so when Baron looked up, he saw every type of monster partying outside its room. Eyeball monsters, mom monsters, obese chef monsters, you name it, especially if you're feeling more creative. A steady stream of the guests fell/were pushed over the balcony railings, while an equally steady stream of janitor roach monsters swept the carcasses from the lobby into the kitchen. On the left was an indoor pool filled with swamp water, swamp piranha, and swamp sharks. Bikini babes of all colors, shapes, and scalinesses sat around the pool and took pictures of themselves. Obese, speedoed perv monsters surrounded the babes while also taking pictures and mumbling about popping boners. To the right of the pool was a tiki bar backed by a toxic octopus monster who slung drinks in every direction. Werewolves, vampires, chainsaw monsters, and Daves chugged then straight up ate the tiki mugs before another appeared like magic in their hands/paws/whatevers. The sights got Baron and Grindax pumped in a major way, but they quickly remembered that they came to the hotel to... The sights got Baron and Grindax pumped in a major way, but they quickly remembered that they came to the hotel to sleep now so they could party later. They walked over to the check-in desk where an emaciated frog monster sat with his legs crossed like a lady. He winked, and it made the duo feel weird enough to serve as a cliffhanger.
Inside? It is scouted? Huh? It is scouted?
Yeah.
What is scouted?
Monster.
What kind of monster?
Joshua, was it Freddy Krueger?
Fred Krueger? You didn't like Fred Krueger, huh?
Chapter
They
37.
give you some candy?
Welcome to the Monster Hotel,
What about you?
Boussoirs.
What's
The
your
frog
name?
whispered through it. Oh, whispered.
It is
Welcome to
scouted
the
inside?
Monster Hotel, Boussoirs. The frog whispered through a dewy mustache. Do we
So
have
what
a
about you? Did you
reservation?
feel scared inside? What
Do
is
we
more
have a
scary,
reservation?
Fred Krueger or Jason?
The fuck did you just call us? Baron
So this is
demanded.
the first time you
Never
come
you,
over
man.
here? So you like it?
Never you mind, mes
All right,
petits
thank you. What's your
boussoirs.
name?
It is just French, as are
Thank you,
we.
Sean.
Monsieur
you
le
have a
Duc
fun
at your
inside?
service.
What
Your
is more scary?
pleasure. Your
Billy
Pleasure,
almost kissed the
sir.
vampire.
Oh yeah?
Baron
What about
Grindex
Fred Krueger?
bristled.
Is he scared at you?
Me and my guitar need a
What
room to
about
crash in for a few hours,
What
Baron
kind
said
of
after
gift did they give you?
unbristling. Mes guitar and
Gum?
we, the douche
So
corrected.
what are you gonna
But who are
dress
we
for the
to
Halloween?
judge the grammar and lifestyle of one who requests the
maid?
hourly
Oh,
rate?
that's nice. How old are you?
Going to make some sweet petite music, are we?
8? Oh, 6.
He slowly winked his left
What
eye at
about you?
Baron, and then his
You have
right
a
eye at
funny side?
Grindex.
When the
Frog eye
vampire
boogers
popped up
crusted
behind the
all over his
curtain on me.
lapel.
Oh yeah, that's
Any
true.
other time, Baron
And
would
how
have
old
leapt
are
over
you?
the counter,
10.
grabbed a
And what's
bunch
your
of
name?
keys off their
Ashley.
hooks,
Ashley.
and started stabbing
What's
until
your
all that
costume for
remained was a
Halloween?
dewy
I'm
mustache.
being a Arabian
He was
dancer.
too friggin'
Arabian
tired.
dancer, that's nice. What about you, baby? What's your
Exactly.
name?
He sighed. Sweet petite
Amanda.
music,
It is
boussoirs, and all
scouted
that
inside, Amanda.
bullshit. Just give us a
It
room.
is scouted?
But of course.
No, it is not
The
scouted.
douche
Did you
replied
like
with lips now peppered with
That's
eye
great.
boogers.
Thank you, Amanda.
He turned his head and
And we
spit a
have one
rope-like
more over
blue
here.
tongue at the
What's
wall
your
of
name?
keys. He then spun
Scott.
back
Did you
around and
like it
flopped
with
his
that?
tongue onto the front desk.
Scouted?
It looked and smelled
What
like a
did you
plastic
mostly
fishing.
like?
Oops. It looked and smelled like a
Jason's
plastic
name
fishing lure
Freddy.
covered in
Jason
key-shaped
the
fish
Freddy?
hooks.
Yeah.
We didn't
Take
see it,
your
but we're
petite
gonna see
pic.
it, and you're gonna
He
see
murmured
you
while
on the
wriggling
TV,
it back
okay?
and
Channel
forth.
3.
Baron
All right,
reached for the
Sid, you wanna
nearest,
say
least
hello for your
disgusting
friends?
key. It was shaped like a
Say hi to
skeletal
Mom.
arm with fingers
Wanna
as
say
the
hi to
bit,
Mom?
Hi,
the
Mom.
part that goes in the door. Oops.
Hi, Mom.
It was shaped like a skeletal arm with fingers as the bit,
like it
the
there.
part that goes in the door.
How Fred Krueger
On the
does. You know how
bow,
Fred Krueger
that's the
does?
part that's held and
Show
turned.
me.
Look up parts of a key since the shit isn't intuitive. Was written room 1331. A number that's spooky up front and Halloweeny on the back.
And how he does.
Ooh, but you have tickled my taste buds.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The douche gasped
What
as
about
Baron
Jason?
grabbed the key.
He's in-
Exactly.
he's-
Baron
he's in
sighed
the
again.
scary-
He turned and bailed to the
Yeah.
elevators.
Yeah.
A chubby,
else is
pallid
this
goblin
song? I
kid
haven't
stood
seen
there
it.
waiting. He held an energy drink in each hand. It must have come from the pool because it had
You
damp
don't
towel.
remember?
Oops.
What about you?
This is gonna
Who's
be a
scouted
voice.
inside?
He held an energy drink in each hand. It must
Freddy
have come from the
Krueger
pool
and
because he had a damp
Jason
towel wrapped
like
around
a
his
hot.
neck and a sopping
Yeah,
wet
Fred
bowl
Krueger.
cut on top of
you
his
guys
head.
Have you guys have a costume for the
I
Halloween
already
party?
Oops.
What are you gonna be?
Oh, she's-
Jason.
You're gonna be Jason. What about you?
I'm gonna be
I already
Terminator.
I already
Yeah,
pressed the
my
button.
I like when the vampire comes up from that
I
grave.
already, I already
that's my
pressed the
favorite part.
button. The goblin
What
kid
about
said
you?
to
What are
Baron
you
through
gonna dress
chattering
for the
teeth.
Halloween?
Cool man, good job, Baron replied.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
And
The
have a
kid
nice
chattered,
day.
even though Baron hadn't
Alright, we
actually
have over here
said
the Boy
thanks.
Scouts from Summit
While they
View
waited
and
for the
Medford. Hey,
elevator
you guys
to
have
arrive,
fun
the
over
goblin stared at Baron and shivered.
Who's more
Grindex made an annoying bing noise every time the floor indicator light changed, and
You
Monster...
are scouted, huh?
Fuck.
Who you think you look like?
While they waited for the elevator
You
to
look like
arrive,
with
the
Jason
goblin stared at
or
Baron and
Fred
shivered. Grindex made an annoying bing noise every time the floor indicator light changed,
You look like
and
both.
Monsieur
Yeah.
Ledouche
You look
waved
like
and
both.
yelled, Bonsoir, baby bonsoir,
What are you gonna dress for
since
the
he felt
Halloween?
like he hadn't received enough attention.
Robot. And what
It
about
was a
you?
living hell. Finally,
what's
the
gonna be your
elevator car
costume for
groaned its way
Halloween?
down to the lobby.
Earl.
Baron busted in and
Yeah.
pressed the button
Halloween.
for floor 13.
Robin
The
Hood.
Goblin Kid followed and pressed each fucking button on the panel, including the alarm. Every monster in the hotel turned its eyes/eye socks to the source of the piercing sound.
One over here has a way to...
Half of the mom monsters judgmentally shook their heads, believing Baron was some shitty dad letting his kid run wild, even though they had no idea where their own babies were at the time. Probably dead. The other half clutched their monster pearls, worried that if Baron and the Goblin Kid weren't related, that obviously meant Baron was a ped by coincidental maleness and proximity. Both momster halves
Three Musketeer.
All right.
Both momster
All right,
halves
guys,
shot
thank you
looks to
very
each
much
other,
and have a
did
fun,
little eye
all right?
rolls and mouthed, "I don't know."
Gonna
They
dress on the
immediately felt vindicated. They'd publicly
Frankenstein,
acknowledged
that's
that there was an
really nice.
issue and they
What's
were
your
aware
name?
of it. Whatever happened now is out of their hands, and if an actual problem arose, their husbands could deal with it.
What do you have inside
None
your
of the
bag?
monster dads gave a fuck about who
You
was
don't
in the
know yet? You wanna show
elevator.
me?
They were too busy staring into their
You wanna show me
glasses
what
of
you have
barrel-aged
inside your
slime
bag?
bourbon,
No?
reflecting on their regrets. The mondads looked wistfully at the piano in the corner. They thought about how they still didn't know how to play an instrument, and how they had enrolled in Guitar 1 during their freshman year at Monster University, before their own mondads told them that music was for mon-fags, so they should take Calculus 17 instead. That way, if/when they fucked up as their mondads knew they would, they could try again the next semester and still have a chance of being admitted to MU's prestigious Fuzzbee Sticky Nails School of Monsternomics. If you weren't in by your sophomore year, you'd be sucking shit and eating rat food the rest of your life. So, they switched. With a grimace, the dads took a sip of slime bourbon and promised to themselves that they would never do that to their own mom kids. But they knew they would. They took another sip. They wondered if in the future their kids would respect them. They wondered at what point in the past their wives had stopped. At what point did they have to start asking, begging, their wives for sex like a lowly weregoon, instead of apologizing that they couldn't go more than 3 times in one night? At what point did the cute 20-something BAMCat cashiers, whom the monster dads thought couldn't be more than 5 years younger when it was actually closer to 20, start calling them sir and smiling sympathetically instead of suggestively? They exhaled and turned their collective gaze from the piano back to their glasses. By the time they were retired and had the time to learn an instrument, their hands would be too arthritic, their eyes too weak, their brains too foggy, their backs too sore. Fuck it. Music was for mon-fags anyway. They raised a fully capable claw and ordered another drink. Baron swallowed hard, suddenly feeling like he had stepped on someone's toes. Relief came as the elevator door closed and he and Gurnex were alone again, until a chubby pallid hand tugged at his shirt, and he remembered they weren't alone at all. Donzo. Oh, fuck.
Yes, the Somerville Police do an excellent job every year with the Haunted House, which is, they have it every year from 6 to 8:30, usually on a Thursday and a Friday night. If you can't make it tonight, try to make it next year, because it's a wonderful function the Somerville Police put on every year. Different organizations throughout the city, they donate perishable items. People bring down canned goods for the donation of the canned food drive. Organizations throughout the city donate food, donate candy for the kids, and it's just a fabulous time down here. And the Haunted House is so scary. Come on down. My name is Jim Robertson. I'm a resident of Somerville, and I help out the Somerville Police every year for this good charitable cause. Thank you very much.
What's your name?
Melissa.
Melissa, you always, every year you coming over here?
It's my first year.
So how, did you have fun?
Yeah, I did.
Scared a lot of kids?
No, I didn't scare much.
Welcome to the
Oh,
asylum.
yeah?
Yeah.
Did you see anything mostly funny when the kids
Yeah, I
get
don't
scared?
think
Did you
so.
see anything
I think-
mostly call your attention?
This is playing in the background.
No? What about Fred Krueger right behind you?
Shit going on. Now this should be fixed. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Let me make sure this actually works. Sounds good.
Chapter 37 from the pool because he had a damn towel wrapped around his neck and a sopping wet. They thought about how they still didn't know how to play an instrument and how they had enrolled in Guitar One
Yes,
their freshman year at Monster
That's
University.
what really matters. What a blast. One watching now. Bye. One watching now. All right. Ooh wee, this is good too though. All right. Ooh wee, this is good too though. Okay. All right. Focus. Here we go. Oh, I already forgot this fucking kid talks.
Chapter 36, Bourgeois and all chapter neck. I already pressed the button. The goblin kid said. I already pressed the button. Teeth. Cool man, good job, Baron replied. You're welcome.
All right. Close enough. Chapter 38. Hey, the goblin kid said. Hey, Baron replied. Sarap, Grindex called from Baron's pack. The kid took a swig from one of his 2 energy drinks. "This is so good! Scott Cherry!" "Cool," Baron nodded. He had no idea what to do with that. He looked down at the can, which portrayed a shrieking mandrill and the words "Grape Ape Executioner" beneath it. Nothing about cherry, and kind of strange that they would negate their own pun. The new buddies, now fully talked out, rode the rest of the way in silence. The only sounds came from the kid chugging/burping his energy drink. The only sounds came from the kid chugging/burping his energy drink, while Grindex continued his bing noises as they stopped on every floor. Still, it was less of a living hell than before. "Take it easy, dude," Baron told the goblin kid when they finally reached floor 13. "Take it easy, Scott Cherry," Grindex echoed. "Night." Oh wait. "Night," the kid belched. He attempted to drink from both cans at the same time, which instead resulted in him spilling all over the carpeted floor. Baron walked down the hall to room 1331, slammed in the key bit, and twisted the bow. He and Grindex cautiously busted into the room, not knowing what to expect from a monster hotel. It was par for the fucking course. To their immediate right was a bathroom, where a sickly yellow light flickered and illuminated a dump covered everything. The main room in front of them featured a bed with a duvet coat. The main room in front of them featured a bed with a duvet. The main room in front of them featured a bed with a duvet composed entirely of a writhing mass of bed bugs. An ancient AC window unit screeched behind it, blowing out dust and bonus bed bugs. Baron was about to lose all pump and die when he noticed a ratty CRT TV chilling on a stand against the wall. Attached to it was a Monster 64 video game controller. He rushed over and pressed the TV's power button. A cheesy welcome page glowed onto the screen and showcased the bar's tiki drinks and pool hours. Baron excitedly navigated past the bullshit bill pay options and monster porn movies. until he confirmed that the hotel indeed had video games. There was even another controller tucked away behind the TV, so he and Grindex could play 2P. "Oh, hell yeah!" Baron shouted. He hadn't seen a setup like this in over a decade, and it was so rad that it made up for everything else shitty about the room, which was everything. His, and consequently Grindex's, pump levels shot through the asbestos-filled popcorn ceiling, and they insta-forgot how tired they were. It was time to party. They called Monster Room Service and ordered a stack of grilled cheeses, a mountain of fries with tiny glass ketchup bottles, and a dozen Grape Ape Executioners that were delivered in ice glasses with cellophane. They called Monster Room Service and ordered a stack of grilled cheeses, a mountain of fries with tiny glass ketchup bottles, and a dozen Grape Ape Executioners that were delivered in ice glasses with cellophane wrap over the top instead of in cans for some weird hotel reason. Baron and Grindex ate junk and played rubbish until nights became days. They laughed about all the bullshit that came before, and they didn't think about any of the bullshit that was to come. Eventually, they passed out on the floor, with controllers in hand as pause music repeated in the background, and an image of 2 warriors burned its way into the CRT's screen. It was a screen most would have deemed obsolete. Past the time when someone should use it to play M64 games. Past the time when someone should use it to play games at all. But the duo slept peacefully in the screen's soft glow, tucked away from such opinions in one of the countless rooms of the Monster Hotel, a lazily named place inhabited by countless stupid monsters, in a city and a world and a universe inhabited by countless more stupid monsters. Meanwhile, back at Pizzeria 64, Little Billy's party continued simply because it needed to, and because it could. Looks quiet.
Back at Pizzeria 64, Little Billy's party continued simply because it needed to, and because it could.
It's probably fine. Test, check, test.
Test, check.
All right. Chapter 39. Baron and Grindex slept for a million. They only awoke when a Vivitch housekeeper busted into their room. "Pardon me," she sang. "Housekeeping? I just need to feed and milk them bedbugs right quick." Thinking redneck ninjas were busting in to murder him, Baron shot up, grabbed Grindex, and began shredding. The last thing the housekeeper saw, before a 6 speed metal rift solidified in his seal and tore through her neck, was Baron's morning wood. Her head rolled into the hall with its eyes and mouth fully open / prepared for peace. "Oh, dang," Baron said, realizing his impetuousness. "Sorry about that." "Wake and shank, man," Grindex reassured. "Doesn't rhyme," Baron snapped. He felt embarrassed for sleeping too long, and for acting too hastily with what could have been his new girlfriend. Baron stared at the Vivitch's corpse and imagined driving around with it on a sunny summer day. Her head would still be attached, and they'd blaze to Taco Bell before looking for horror VHS at flea markets and Halloween stuff at Party City. She wouldn't really be interested, but she'd feign pumped the whole time because she was cool like that, and he'd reciprocate by watching garbage reality TV shows with her that night. They'd both have Texan accents and life would be beautiful. "Let's get out of this shithole," Baron growled, not wanting to torture himself any longer with thoughts of what might have been. "You got it, man," Grindex replied. "But hey, playing nerd games all night rocked, huh?" Baron looked over at the controllers and room service trays scattered across the ground. His existential sadness was quickly replaced by nostalgic pomp. "Hell yeah," he laughed. "Hey, remember that shitty beat-em-up where all the enemies were palette swaps and/or super racist, and that one boss was legit unbeatable? Good times." The two walked out of the room and over the housekeeper's severed head. She wasn't that hot, and Baron realized she probably would have given him shit for wanting to go to Party City 2 days in a row, totally disregarding the fact that Halloween stuff can hit the shelves any friggin' day once it's summer. And even just seeing unopened boxes labeled Larry Leviathan's Deluxe Dinosaur Dracula fangs stacked on the floor was reason enough to check religiously. "Sorry about snapping at you, homie," Baron apologized. "No prob, Bobby Babino the Rip King," Grindex replied. "Totally rhymes." Shit was getting kinda weird, so the two busted back down to the lobby to check out. There, they found Monsieur Ledouche still chilling behind the counter with his legs crossed like a lady. He had winked out so many eye boogers since they last saw him that stalagmites had formed on his lapel. "Checking out, baby boussoirs?" he called as they approached. "Yup," Baron said as he threw the key on the counter. After feeling guilty for beheading the housekeeper, he chose to once again follow the path of least resistance / bloodshed / interaction with MLD. "How much do we owe in Earth bucks?" he asked. 5? 10? "Let me find out," the frog monster replied. He opened a ledger bound in human flesh and written in human blood and pen ink. 138 hours for the room, plus room service, petite video games, and housekeeper homicide is 88 hundo. "We can't afford that," Baron yelled. "We only have like 0.05 hundo." "C'est la vie," the frog monster replied with a wink that caused the stalagmites to grow. "Lucky for you, we have, how do you say, other ways to settle these matters?" "No fuck way!" Baron yelled, covering his crotch. "Oh, mes petits boussoirs," MLD laughed. "It is not your ping-pongs that we want. It is your immortality. But if you are offering the combo deal..." In a frog-green flash, Monsieur Ledouche leapt over the counter, holding aloft the scarab of Mythengall. That's bad. $39. Yeah. All right. Man, coming down to the wire. Chapter 40. Baron front flip dodged Monsieur Ledouche's attack before he even had time to consider whether he was actually immortal. He's pretty sure he wasn't. The frog monster ate it hard, sliding across the marble floor and into a trash can by the tiki bar. When he emerged, a banana peel hung off the top of his head like a stupid little wig, and everyone at the bar friggin' lost it. One fat were-owl laughed so hard that slime bourbon came out of his beak strills, and since it stung a little bit, he let it ruin his entire business trip. Ledouche leapt out of the trash, feeling super pissed/embarrassed, and shrieked a high-pitched French war cry. He again launched himself at Baron, but this time with his tongue out. Baron swiftly laid down a sludgy doom metal riff on Grindax. The hotel walls began to melt and slough off into sweet puddles, and a bolt of ice lightning shot out of Grindax's spider fangs and blasted into the airborne frog monster. MLD's body careened past Baron into the wall, shattering into exactly 88 hundo pieces. It looked almost identical to the Sub-Zero scene from the first Mortal Kombat movie, but different enough to not be a ripoff. Fatal move, Baron said with a chuckle. He walked over to the ice chunks to search them for loot/gold. As he dug through the slush, the scarab of Mythengol, totally unfrozen, flew out like a cockroach that doesn't reveal its flying ability until it's too fucking late. One more time. As he dug through the slush, the scarab of Mythengol, totally unfrozen, flew out like a cockroach that doesn't reveal its flying ability until it's too fucking late. Baron knew he didn't have time to play a single defense note, so he closed his eyes and prepared to die, or at least lose the immortality he may or may not have. One more time. Baron knew he didn't have time to play a single defense note, so he closed his eyes and prepared to die, or at least lose the immortality he may or may not have. Yeah, infinitely better and different. Right. Let's see. Chapter 41. Burp. Grindax burped. Baron opened his eyes. The scarab of Mythengol was gone. Cool, Bale? Cool, Bale? Grindax asked nonchalantly. Dude, where's that horrifying beetle thing? Oh, I ate it. I'm part spider monster, remember? But what about its fangs? Won't they steal your immortality? Oh, I'm not immortal. I'm part guitar, remember? Feeling confident/bored now that everything had settled down, Baron and Grindax busted out of the hotel and back onto the street. A massive parade was going on, with monsters on both sides of the sidewalk cheering like crazy, while floats, clowns, obese chef monsters, and cages of growing... how do I say this? Victim of my own nonsense. Rettle orninxes. Alright. A massive parade was going on, with monsters on both sides of the sidewalk cheering like crazy, while floats, clowns, obese chef monsters, and cages of growling Rettlornixes tore down the block. Oh, fart knockers! Baron yelled. Friggin' monster circus time! An obese troll mom standing in front of Baron whirled around. Two stupid, wild-haired troll babies were suckling upon her fat teats. They all had a unique, indescribable smell that the majority of the other monsters hated, but a few loved so much that they created an I Heart Troll Odor subreddit. Excuse you? She howled. You need to watch your fucking mouth! There are children here! Baron had no clue what she was talking about. There was no way she could have been pissed about fart knockers or friggin'. He thought maybe it was because he had said monster, like it was the M word or something there. But that would have meant they named their city M-Wordopolis, so it couldn't have been that either. The more confused he felt, the more pissed he became. He also fucking hated when people said, "excuse you." So, he poked the bear. "What the fart knockers are you talking about, you friggin' monster circus?" he said as pissed/pumped as possible. "Why, you white trash ass," the troll mom started. "Time," Grindex cut in. You forgot to say time. What the fart knockers are you talking about, you friggin' monster circus? Time?" The troll mom freaked the fuck out. She turned bright purple. She was green before. And both troll babies started crying even though they still had mouths full of nip. Her eyes went crazy, and she frantically looked around for assistance because she felt slightly victimized/inconvenienced, and thus believed everyone should drop whatever they were doing to help with the bullshit minutia she had going on at the moment. If it was important to her, it should be to everyone else too. When she saw that no one gave a crap, she sighed loudly/angrily. When that didn't work, she started crying like her little troll babies. When that didn't work, she started crying like her little troll babies. "This Helm assaulted me," she sobbed. It was a total lie, but since she hadn't got the response she wanted, she needed to turn it up a notch. After exactly 2 seconds, she even began to believe her lie, which caused her to shake and sob harder. A few monsters turned around and looked ready to rock. "He attacked me and my children," she wailed. "He's a demented pervert. Won't someone do something?" More monsters turned around, including a few demented perverts who were hoping to see some shit. "What?" Baron demanded. "I didn't do anything. I'm sorry if my words made you feel uncomfortable, but..." The trollmon cut him off. "Rapist!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. Her poop-butted baby swayed back and forth on her chest, crying and gnawing crabbily. The monster bystanders cracked their knuckles and moved toward Baron and Grindex. Wait, Baron laughed, his bullshit meter going off the charts. "I'm actually not sorry, because guess what? I didn't do crap." The mom and encroaching monsters gasped. "Kill him!" A whiskered blue meanie shouted. "Take his fucking life! I'm sure he deserves it. Look at his face! It's kind of asymmetrical. And she's a mom who's just trusting her mom instincts." A green-bot Sweeney nodded and gurgled. "Rape him to death with his guitar's razor-wire knuckle. That'll teach the pervert." Both monsters frothed at the mouth and started popping boners. Baron lost his shit. "Fine. Fuck it. You want me to be a villain?" The monsters all widened their eyes hopefully. "Well, here you go!" Baron screamed in his maniacal game show announcer voice. He played a frenetic thrash melody that changed Grindex's fangs to necrotoxic mode. He then swung Grindex into the left troll baby, injecting both fangs into the little jerk at full force/venom. The baby swung around the nip at light speed while rotting and screaming, "Mommy! Help me! Help, baby!" Troll milk and blood rained down from the sky, soaking into the dirt and guaranteeing nothing would ever grow there again. The crowd jumped back, aghast yet fully entertained. The blue meanie crammed his hand into his pocket and went to town. Oh, fuck, I already forgot how the mom talks. No, my precious Alexander, the troll mom cried as she watched her child reduced to a tan, rotten shell. Before she could process what had happened, Baron launched a flying, jet boot-powered knee at the other baby. The tiny jerk rocketed upward but maintained a strong bite on the nip, stretching at 555 feet into the air before turning and starting its descent. "Don't worry, baby Alexandra," the troll shrieked while twisting her belly jewel in a panic. "Mommy will catch you!" But she missed. The trolling slammed into the pavement, its fall cushioned only by the rubbery rope of nip dangling from its mouth. Dazed and pleading, it looked to Baron for mercy. "The Sledge-O-Matic!" he announced instead, his eyes indicating that he'd gone totally fucking off the rails. He raised Grindex above his head and brought him down hard. The monster spawn exploded in a shower of guts and watermelon seeds that sprayed all over the parade goers, who were now cheering in their freshly donned, Baron-branded ponchos. All they'd wanted to see was some violence. They didn't care how they got it or who was on the delivering or receiving end. Oops. They didn't care how they got it or who was on the delivering/receiving end. Besides, now that the mom's boobs were all chewed up and stretched out, she was less attractive than Baron. That led them to the conclusion that she had been the bad guy all along and justice had been served. It was a fantastic twist. Everything was fantastic. Thank you, Baron yelled to his adoring fans. He bowed and shredded an epic speed metal riff on Grindax, who winked his 8 eyes at everyone. The troll mom was dumbfounded. She was always used to getting her way, but this time she hadn't. Or maybe she had. After all, she had wanted trouble and attention, and she got both. But now her kids were dead, and her boobs were the grossest in the world. She closed her eyes and vowed that if she ever had kids again, she'd define herself as something other, something more than just a momster. She would find a way to contribute something to monster kind so she could stop being so defensive out of sheer boredom. She smiled and opened her eyes, prepared to start anew. Encore! Baron and Grindex Dual Game Show announced. Baron and Grindex Dual Game Show announced as the former planted the ladder into the ground, raised his jet boots, and blasted off the troll mom's boobs with blacklight flame. Roasted and toasted! Grindex shouted over the roaring crowd. The troll mom gurgled pitifully as her torso disintegrated, revealing the raucous monsters on the other side. As her body collapsed, 2 imps rushed over, bent down, and stuck their heads through her open boob cavities. They reared back up, wearing the troll mom's dying body like a tandem hat, and began to dance around and take selfies with their fellow parade goers. It's getting a bit too intense. Monster circus? Baron asked Grindex. Monster circus, Grindex responded, choking back vom as he watched the troll mom's head flop back and forth, her dead eyes open and staring. Excellent. Let's see, 41. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, yeah. All right. Chapter 42. Baron and Grindex followed the monster parade until they reached a midway that stretched as far as their 10 eyes could see. It was blacklit as fuck, with commercial haunts and fun houses all over the place. Calliope music played through hidden speakers in the bushes, and a few were slightly out of sync so it sounded extra spooky. Werewolf barkers called out to passers-by, goading them into flipping frogs into vats of acid or throwing darts at newborns. Vendor carts lined the path and were helmed by obese chef monsters hawking razor-blade-filled candied apples, funnel cake made of intestines, and $10 sub sandwiches with only 1 slice of dry turkey and 1 leaf of super pale/wilted lettuce. Baron and Grindex were too broke to do anything, so they kept busting down the midway until they reached a large tent with "Big Top Terror" scrawled above it. The entrance flap was blocked by a ripped ghost bouncer whose hands were tucked beneath his biceps to make them look even bigger. "Got tickets/money?" he wailed as Baron and Grindex approached. The duo walked right through his dumbass and into BTT. They grabbed a seat on the highest bleacher and scooped up some floor popcorn to munch on. As the lights went down, All the monsters in the crowd instantly went into coughing fits or yelled, "Woo!" and "Uh-oh, I think it's starting." It made Baron feel closer to them, yet also way more It made Baron feel closer to them, yet also... Yeah, that's how you read. It made Baron feel closer to them, yet also way more resentful. A skeleton wearing a top hat and candy-striped jacket busted into the center ring. From the rafters, a mangy rat monster followed him with a spotlight and drooled onto the glass, so a bunch of sweet/gross patterns were projected to the ground below. "Ladies and gentlemen," the ringleader started, "your attention, please. Welcome to the Fangulous, the most spooktacular event in monster entertainment history. Put your claws together for the crappiest Creepers Variety Hour!" A group of monsters ran out holding up their arms like dinosaurs. "Maybe it'll get pumped," Baron whispered to Grindax and to himself, but it didn't get pumped. Instead, the monsters began flailing around and singing like idiots. "Meet the monsters! Meet the monsters!" they sang, shaking their little shoulders back and forth while pretending they had boobs. Baron and Grindax curled their lips and melted into their seats. "We're not your average!" An emaciated chicken monster made a stupid little boop-a-dee-boop noise while doing booba-dee-boop. Made a stupid little booba-dee-boop noise while doing jazz hands and making his eyes go crazy. "Ordinary monsters, meet the monsters! Meet the monsters!" Baron and Grindax had seen enough and didn't want to get sued for copyright infringement. They flagged down a pimply goonbender, snagged 2 snow cones, and launched them at the center ring. Baron's snow cone nailed the chicken monster right in the beak and was immediately followed by Grindax's, which split Baron's clean in 2. The chicken let out a falsetto shriek that silenced the entire tent, except for 2 dudes who were cracking up like fucking crazy. "Oh my fuck!" Baron laughed. "Dude, you friggin' Robin Hooded it!" "Heh, totally," Grindax laughed. He had no idea what that meant, but he didn't let on because he didn't want to bring down the pump. But then he worried that if Baron had also Robin Hooded his snow cone, like if it just meant to hit someone in the face, then he might be waiting for Grindax to congratulate him, too. "You did it!" Grindax yelled. But by then 3 minutes had passed, and he and Baron were being dragged outside by security guard monsters.
Entertainment history. Put your hands together for the Fabulous People's Variety Hour.
What? Is it cool when I'm like playing music and during the dead times when I'm saving tracks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
I'm just like playing cool rock.
You're very cool.
Thank you. Do I look like a ped because of black lips?
No.
Okay, good.
Ooh.
Do you want to be on
No.
cam?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Right. back to it. Chapter 43. Baron and Grundax resisted their arrest, the former biting, kicking, and repeatedly asking, "Officer, what did I do? But officer, what did I do?" While the latter slashed at the security guard's arms with razor wire strings and shouted, "Please, officer, please! Please, officer, please!" It's so stupid. Grundax's method was far more effective, and the security guards were quickly diced into fine chunks. "Nice! Good job murdering them forever," Baron praised. "Fucking Robin hided them," Grundax said proudly. "Yeah, I guess. But yo, let's bust back to the Midway and check out some of the dark rides. You know a haunted house in Monstropolis has gotta rock." As Baron stepped over the security guard remnants, tiny little hands shot out and grabbed his ankles. "The fart?" he gasped. The hands grew bigger and their grips tighter. Miniature arms grew behind them, then torsos, legs. Miniature arms grew behind them, then torsos, legs, and peeners/things depending on if they were dudes or chicks. Finally, security monster hands wearing security monster hats popped out of each 13-foot-tall, shiny new monster. "Oh, fuck knockers!" Baron screamed. "Dude, they're Infinity Monsters!" Grundax ran bioscans and, to his terror, confirmed Baron's suspicion. The security guards were composed of a unique type of Mars mud that had regenerative properties and a pleasant pumpkin scent. Slicing them into bits would only spawn a new monster from each bit. Frying them into ash would result in a new monster for each ash. Freezing them would have worked because Baron and Grundax could have booked it before the monsters defrosted, but they weren't able to think of that in time because of the game show effect. The game show effect derives its name from the fact that whoever goes on a game show will find it infinitely harder to answer questions, complete pie-based physical challenges, or assemble silver monkeys in that environment, no matter how many seasons they spent screaming at the TV about how much they'd wreck if they got on. But since Baron and Grundax were on the game show instead of chilling in their living room on the pink recliners they painted to look like go-karts, they were dragged through the streets and thrown into monster jail. Right. Chapter 44. Monster Jail was housed in a gigantic limestone castle blanketed in wanted posters. "Shit, dude, check," Baron said, noticing that most of the posters depicted crude drawings of him and Grundax. Beneath their sketches, crimes were listed. Taking more than one candy. Momster side. Destruction of property / gate side. School stink bombing. Witch napping. Vivitschlader. Non-payment of hotel bill including M64 games. Momster side again. Sup, Freud? Robin hooding / Robin hiding a chicken. Other stuff, probably. "Baller, we're famous," Grundax replied, trying to sound pumped but feeling self-conscious because in most of the pictures, his strings looked bassier than he thought they did in real life. The security guard mud monsters began their redundant processing process. They sprayed Baron and Grundax with bubblegum-flavored, no-tears decontamination foam, took a few serious mugshot photos and a couple silly ones, and outfitted them in Ben Cooper-esque plastic smocks with Bad Guy 1 and Bad Guy 2 written across the back. The duo was then led downstairs into a dungeon, where the guards locked the door and ate the key, complete with burp for added effect. Baron and Grindex looked around at their new home. It was dark and cliché to the max. Bars and slime-covered stone walls surrounded them on every side. Chained to open treasure chests were spooky, long-bearded skeletons, and chilling in the corner was a toilet pre-filled with a mush mountain of dump. Baron and Grindex settled in, content with the knowledge that there were definitely worse fates than becoming spooky/rich skeletons with long beards and high-fiber diets. Suddenly, there was a loud buzz followed by the sound of high heels clacking down the hall. Hello. Hold on. Something. Hello, Fuckface and Fuckface Jr., a babe voice taunted. Oh shit, Elaine! Baron yelled pompedly. Am I FF or FF Jr.? Grindex asked concernedly. It's Layla! The babe screamed crabbily. Right. Well, king fucking syrup, Layla. You here to bust us out or what? What? She responded, looking more like a mom than ever with her bobbed hair, giant sunglasses, yoga pants, and a latte in each hand. I'm actually here to torture you. Dang. You see, after you abandoned me on Sideburn Mountain... Rescued you? Abandoned me? On Sideburn Mountain? I gave up on the idea of ever getting pumped again, so I went full adult. I withdrew from all my necromancy classes and earned a degree... I withdrew from all of my necromancy classes and earned a degree in Monsterporate... Why do I do this? Monsterporate... Monsternomics. Monsterporate. I withdrew from all my necromancy classes and earned a degree in Monsterporate Communications, with a minor in Monsternomics since it was too math-heavy to choose as a major. I had to suck shit and eat rat food through a few unpaid internships, but then I landed my job as Vice Assistant Administrative Torture Process Improvement Specialist at the Monsteropolis Department of Communications. VAATPIS at the MDOC. Good get. Grindex chimed in because he wanted to feel included. How did you do all that in like 2 days? Baron asked. Layla ignored them. Now I get paid an ice cool 23K plus bennies to torture fuckfaces like you. Bad guys who live in the pursuit of only what gives them... Bad guys who live in the pursuit of only get... Oh my gosh. Bad guys who live in the pursuit of only what gets themselves pumped, even at the expense of society or girlfriends. But why torture us? It's not like we have any top 6 video game tips or funny grandpa stories to share. Just leave us here to chill/die. That's exactly why I have to torture you. Otherwise, this would be like a vacation. I bet you've already managed to get pump in this jail cell simply because it has skeletons and slime. But even if I put you in a sterile, all-white cell with absolutely no stimulation, you'd probably pretend it's some baller-ass future world or the dimensional gate room from Phantasm. It's actually pumped, but otherwise, wow, dead on, Baron said. He was shocked by how well Layla knew him even though they had barely hung out. Either he was super one-dimensional or she was his true soulmate. So, she continued, the only way to punish you for your crimes, including but not limited to leaving me to die/make out with gross rat... Including but not limited to leaving me to die/make out with gross rat monsters all across Sideburn Mountain, is to torture you. Do your worst, Baron said, feeling somewhat cocky after Layla regarded him as such a resolute pump prophet. No matter what you do, we'll still find a way to get Pete and Pete. Don't start again with that bullshit, Layla snapped. I realize that you'll never suffer as long as you can use your imagination, so I had the lab monsters cook up a little something for you. Layla pulled a syringe from her cleavage. Baron started to pop a boner, but it instantly melted when she spoke her next words. An ADHD medicine cocktail. 1 drop of this, and you'll never be pumped again! It's probably too scary. Pumped again! All right. 1 drop of this, and you'll never be pumped again. It's a little less scary. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here. Bum 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 ba no 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 no
Nothing is more important than the simple act of people getting together. What? Why? I just did it right. Look, I'm not used to having more than one person in there. One more word out of you and you go. Is that clear? Yes, sir. I take directions from one person under protest. But from 2, I don't sit still. Who the hell are you, anyway? No, I'm the engineer. Well, why the hell are you asking me for another one? Well, I thought there was a slight bump, and I would just like to say. Jesus. What is a gonk? Do you mind telling me what that is? No, a bang from outside. A bang from outside.
Chapter 45. No! Baron screamed as Layla walked toward him with the syringe held above her head like a maniac on the loose. Baron knew he couldn't hurt her because she was still more babe than Mom, but he also couldn't think to play any freezing or time-based attacks because of the game show effect. There was only one way out of this situation, so he took it. He flexed his right bicep, squeezing his fist so hard that his fingernails turned black. The sight made Layla stop in her tracks and remember her witch/goth roots. Baron then flexed his left bicep, which most people would expect to be smaller than his right because he was right-handed, but it was for that very reason he worked it out even harder, making it like 0.25 inches bigger and 3.82% more vascular. Layla's pupils turned into voids that sucked in every atom of Baron's rip. Her entire body began to salivate. Baron brought his arms down across his chest, hitting Layla with a double attack of traps and pecs before closing with the Chong-Li boob dance from Bloodsport. Grindex instinctively started chanting, "Baron! Grindex instinctively started chanting, "Baron! Baron! Baron!" and taking imaginary bets in a beyond borderline racist Chinese accent that luckily no one heard. Layla dropped the syringe, and since she had brought a glass one that looked Layla dropped the syringe, and since she had brought a glass one that looked that she thought looked older/spookier than plastic, it shattered across the cement floor. Toxic wraith vapors rose from the pool of ADHD medicine and let out a mournful math equation cry. "Fuck!" Layla yelled angrily. Baron flexed his peen muscle. "Fuck," she whispered Cecily. Her mouth opened and a waterfall of drool poured forth, washing off her red lipstick and revealing the black lipstick she still wore beneath it. Baron flexed the balls of his feet to launch himself at Layla, and then the balls of his balls to magnetically pull her against him. The two started making out, hard. Their eyes closed, their tongues wrestled and swapped slime, and a cloud-riding camera monster spun around the room and filmed everything in order to make the scene look more intense/romantic. "Yeah, you do it to her, Baron," Grindex whispered, trying to be a solid hype man but taking it too far. "You do it to her. You doozy. Watuzi that bish. Heh, she like it." Layla opened her eyes and looked over at him. He was chilling in the corner with a copy of Deshaun Bitch's Guide to Getting Bitches and rubbing his strings together while staring up at her with wild spider eyes. He had pink thing. Layla's pump insta-drained. She pulled her tongue out of Baron's mouth and pulled his boner out of her crotch. I think you should both leave now. What the fuck? Why? Baron demanded. Because Grindex got pink thing? He can't help it, Layla. He's a guitar. I'm just not feeling it anymore. Bro's ready to take you all the way to the bone zone. Feeling it even less now. Lame. Well, you still want to hit Taco Bell or Party City or something? Maybe quest for VHS at ratty shops that reek of cigarettes and where the... Maybe quest for VHS at ratty shops that reek of cigarettes and where the store owner watches you via CCTV and rubs himself through his sweatpants? Just get out of here before I decide to torture you again. Hey, as if blue balls weren't torture enough, Baron said in his best Rodney Dangerfield voice. But Grindex rimshotted. Baron and Grindex cracked up and took turns shouting, hey, and ho, and boy, I tell ya. Layla walked across the room and pressed an alarm button on the wall. You've got 10 seconds, she said, once again using her mom voice. 4, Baron yelled. He grabbed Grindex and booked it out of the jail cell. As sirens blared, the duo tore down corridors and up stairwells. Managing to avoid/murder every guard who stood in their way. Other than a decent mini-boss battle against a boar sentinel, though, it wasn't anything they hadn't done a bunch of times already. Home free, baby! Grindex cheered as he and Baron found themselves back in the lobby of the MDOC compound. But as they busted toward the front door, a giant battle axe smashed through the wall next to it. A 31-foot-tall, shock blue monster with bat ears, glow-in-the-dark eyes, hook nose, conical teeth, and hooved pillars of legs exploded into the room with a deafening roar. A banner reading, When Monsters Ruled the Monsteropolis, fell slowly past his crowned head and draped across his shoulders, giving him a baller cape to complete his already impressive bow tie/shoot combo. Even without a formal introduction, Baron knew from childhood stories in the real Ghostbusters reruns who towered before him. The Boogeyman, King of Monsteropolis, Badass 2D Extreme, and final fucking boss monster. Oh yeah, how about this one for Boogie? Oh. Fuck. Still horrifying.
It's him. Okay, let's earn some money. I remember you. Egon, move! No, not again.
No way I can do that voice. Alright. Let's see what we got. A little repump here. Okay. Chapter 46. This is it, Baron yelled, wielding Grindex and reddening his fret finger calluses. Yeah, too crunk, Grindex yelled back, self-tuning and filling his fangs with every venom known to man/monster. Baron grimaced and wished Grindex had said pretty much anything else. The boogeyman launched the first attack. He slammed his axe into the ground, sending a shockwave coursing toward Baron. Baron flipped over it and wailed some swamp metal riffs in midair. The floor beneath Boogie's feet became soft and wet, and the king of Monstropolis's hooves sank into the dark mire. Baron landed on solid ground and played harder. He wasn't fucking around since he knew that if he died... Ugh. A little vomit there. He wasn't fucking around since he knew that if he died, the last checkpoint was like 15 obese chef monsters ago. The ground became swampier, and no matter how much Boogie struggled, he couldn't get out. Still, he laughed. Oh man, can't do that voice. Let's see. Dun. Let's see. Check. Okay, I think I got it good enough. I can always go back later. Where did I leave off? Ha! You think a little swamp sand will stop me? He chuckled arrogantly. Dude, it already friggin' has, Baron snapped back. King Boogie looked down at his rapidly sinking legs and then cleared his throat. You've got me there, but let me tell you, these hooves were made for wrecking, he said, and that's just what they'll do. Oh my fuck, I hate Monsteropolis so much, Baron sighed. Oh my fuck, I hate Monsteropolis so much, Baron sighed. Boogie stuck his axe into the marshy ground and stirred. The swamp sand began to boil, and with a wet sucking sound, he burst forth upon a vortex of cyclopean swamp piranha. And one of these days, these hooves are gonna stomp right over you, he crooned as he crashed into Baron's chest, catapulting him across the room. The swamp piranha vortex followed, and Baron found himself staring down a wave of gnashing teeth, unblinking eyes, and sushi stink. Even though most of his bones were fucked from the kick, not totally broken, but painful enough to convince a doctor to write some vague bullshit like hairline dorsal contusions to get him out of work/gym class for a week, Baron had enough strength to lay out a quick surf melody that materialized into a poisonous fog of crabsquitos, which he had hoped would beat the swamp piranha vortices like paper beats rock. But as soon as he made that tangential connection, his ADHD kicked in. He thought about how bullshit it used to be when kids would stick out a finger and say gun while playing rock, paper, scissors. He thought about how bullshit it used to be when kids would stick out a finger and say gun while playing rock, paper, scissors. And then how extra bullshit it was when someone countered with grenade, despite it being the exact same hand gesture as rock. And then Boogie was on top of him and biting his fucking face off. Grindex knew his buddy was screwed and tattooed if he didn't do something fast. He pulled himself up by the strings, loaded his omnivenom, and sank his fangs into Boogie's arm. But the Monster King's entire body was covered in bitter apple spray since he was training his new pet ferret not to bite, so Grindex recoiled before he could even inject a single drop. He then tried whipping at Boogie with his razor wire strings, but Boogie started making weird pleasure grunt sounds, so he stopped that shit as quickly as it started. In a panic, he pulled up his bud HUD to discover that Baron's health/pump had already dropped to 25%. Boogie bit him again, and it fell to 16%, then 7%. Grindex ran a few calculations slowly because he sucked at multiples of 9, but every one of them pointed to his best friend in the universe being F-bombed. He would be killed with one more bite. It made Grindex feel sick. So sick, in fact, that he vomed. So sick, in fact, that he vomed. The torrential spray launched up in and around King Boogie's face, showering him with the chunks of circus floor popcorn, hotel fries, and goody, plus a little grossy, that Grindex had eaten during his and Baron's adventure. Fucking gross! Boogie yelled. He turned his attention to the guitar, who was in way over his frets. What's wrong with you? And what's wrong with your diet? The voice was a mistake, man. After spitting a bunch of times and doing some deep breathing, he continued, I was gonna let you watch your friend here die, but now it looks like he'll have the distinct pleasure instead. Or wait. You'll have the distinct pleasure instead. Who'll have the distinct pleasure of watching you die, and you'll have the distinct pleasure of dying. There, got it. No. Grindex. Baron Blood gurgled as King Boogie released him and grabbed his axe handle with both gnarled hands. It's okay, man, Grindex said calmly while closing his spider eyes. See you in Pump Holla in like 2 seconds. I'll keep the snow cone machine warmed up for you. Or cooled down. Whichever. Now this dude has me overthinking everything. Boogie raised his axe above his head, and his eyes went absolutely nuts with rage. Then pain. Then confusion. What? He shouted, spinning around and swatting the back of his neck. Baron and Grindex saw it at the same time. The scarab of Mythengol. Grindex had vomited up along with all the other nonsense, and it was chomping down on King Boogie's maybe immortal at some point, but definitely not immortal anymore flesh. Baron saw his opportunity to attack, but with his health so low, he needed to think of everything he could to get repumped. Halloween theme parks at night. Dogs sniffing babies and then barking directly in their faces in front of their moms. The time Grindex took a sip of soda and then disgustedly groaned, "Ugh." And when they looked down at the bottle, they saw that someone had scrawled "bad" on it in Sharpie. But whoever did that still put the soda back in the store's refrigerator and sold it, and whatever was wrong with it, Grindex had already consumed. The time one of his girlfriends took a sip of an energy drink and then disgustedly groaned, "Ugh," and spit out a piece of orange gunk that had been in the can but definitely shouldn't have been. When he and that same girlfriend were running together at the gym, and after tying her shoe, she somehow got a pubic hair in her mouth. Baron cracked up and instantly reached 100.01% pump. He tried to jump to his feet, but even though his pump was beyond maxed out, his health remained at 7% because health regen doesn't exist on nightmare difficulty. He tried to jump to his feet, but even though his pump was beyond maxed out, his health remained at 7% because health regen didn't exist on nightmare difficulty. There were only root beer health pickups, and they had a crazy low drop rate. Grindex saw Baron struggling and extended a low E string, more for moral support than anything else. Baron stuck out a bloody hand and let the string ensnare it. Even though Grindex tried to be gentle, the razor wire sliced into Baron's skin, dropping his health to 1%. He slammed on his jet boots and hoped that would be enough. Dun, 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 dun. Real cool. Soaked. Alright. Chapter 47. Baron rocketed toward Boogie, who had used the 10 minutes or so to dislodge the scarab and smash it under hoof. It had done some major damage, though, and the Monster King was now flashing red to indicate that he was super low on health too. He turned to face Baron and put an end to this farce, as he would have said douchily, but instead he caught a flying razor wire fish straight to the nuts. The boogeyman fell to his knees, raised two limp-wristed dinosaur arms, and shimmied back and forth like a moron. "Finish him!" Grindex yelled. Baron crouched, kicked, and did a couple of punches from a jump distance. Nothing happened. "Sweep distance," Grindex corrected. "Oh shit, right. Baron said as he moved closer or farther because no one actually knows what the fuck a sweep distance is. Baron crouched, kicked, and punched again. Suddenly, he was wailing shrill 16-bit notes on a pallet swap Grindex even though the real one was chilling on the ground next to him. "Oh shit!" Baron screamed as his eyes popped and his brain blasted out of the open sockets like meat through a grinder. Viscous gore poured forth with the color/intensity of a grape juice box that someone accidentally dropped a backpack on. Finally, his hollow head lantern glowed, flickered, and exploded. Candy rained from the sky, followed by the King of Monsteropolis' crown, which flipped and landed perfectly onto Baron's head. What remained of the boogeyman's corpse pissed itself in front of everyone and collapsed into the swamp sand. "Extreme victory! Perfect!" The pallet swap Grindex voice shouted in a barfy robot voice. Oh, fuck. Oh, man, I have to do this again. "Extreme victory! Perfect!" The pallet swap Grindex shouted in a barfy robot voice, despite the fact that it wasn't close to a perfect XTV since Baron had pretty much gotten his ass handed to him. The Boshi-ass Grindex pixelated into the ether. Ether or ether? What is it? Ether. There we are. The Boshi-ass Grindex pixelated into the ether, and Baron... hit this. The The bow she asked Grindex pixelated into the ether, and Baron walked over and slung the real one over his shoulder. As they headed to the front door, a familiar babe voice stopped him. "Hey, nice shot." Baron turned and saw Layla standing on a staircase where she had just been chilling for the past 30 minutes. Baron turned and saw Layla standing on a staircase where she had been chilling for the past 30 minutes just watching and not helping at all. "You know it," Baron said with a bloody wink. "Thanks for Queen chilling until it was all over, by the way."
"Well, to be honest, I didn't think you were going to win,"
Layla said unapologetically.
"And I only back winners."
"Cool. It's pretty bullshit, but whatever. Now that I'm an XTV perfect winner, you want to hit up Taco Bell in Party City with us?" Layla, Baron, and Grindex hopped into her monster sedan with broken air conditioning and headed to the nearest strip mall. Layla talking, Baron blasting/window drumming along to the first 10 seconds of a metal song before getting bored and skipping to the next one, and Grindex sitting in the back middle seat. So whenever Layla had to look in the rearview mirror to check traffic, he would be staring directly into her eyes. After the trio hit up Taco Bell in Party City, the latter of which most definitely had Halloween stuff, Layla came to a stop in the blacklit below Burbs pumpkin patch where it had all begun. Oops. That should be where it had all begun. Oh well. Layla came to a stop in the blacklit below Burbs. Do the whole fucking thing. After the trio hit up Taco Bell in Party City, the latter of which most definitely had Halloween stuff, Layla came to a stop in the blacklit below Burbs pumpkin patch where it all began. There was still no sign of the portal. "See?" Baron said, pointing. "The portal isn't here anymore. It's gone. It's dead." Deadski, Grindex chimed.
"Dead, eh?"
Layla replied with a sly smile that was extra red because her lips were still irritated from hot sauce, but not in a defamatory way.
"Good thing undeading stuff is my specialty."
Baron and Grindex didn't know what she was talking about since they had already forgotten that she was a necromancer, but they shrugged and kicked back as Layla stuck her pinkies into the ground and whistled. The portal exploded open, shooting pink bubbles and milk all over the place. "Sweet!" Grindex screamed. "Time to bust back to Earth and MF Pizzeria 64!" Baron was... Oh man, it's another typo. Baron was just as pumped, but something held him back. Literally. Layla had him by the shoulder.
"You don't have to go, you know,"
she closely whispered with hot sauce breath. "I made a promise to little Billy," Baron replied sternly, even though he wasn't sure if he actually did.
"But you can stay here and be king,"
Layla explained.
"You killed the boogeyman, which means the throne is yours. If you don't accept it, Monsteropolis will be thrown into a new age of war as the remaining blood heirs and total assholes, Prince Kenny and Prince Little Kenny, vie for the crown. Please,"
she pleaded.
"Stay and be my king."
Huh, Little Kenny. Baron laughed while stepping into the portal. "Being king sounds rad on paper, or I guess in the sky's words, but I know there are a lot of bullshit meetings and stuff that come with it, so forget it. I also think we have a dog that hasn't been fed in however many days/months we've been here, so he's probably getting hungry."
"Oh, okay,"
Layla replied dejectedly.
"Well, I guess this is King Sia then. Stay pump."
Baron was touched all the way to his...
"Stay pump."
Baron was touched all the way to his butt by her co-opting of his lingo, even if she still didn't have the whole pump/pump thing down. "Yo, why don't you come with us?" he asked, extending a hand. Grindex silently freaked the fuck out. Layla looked at the ground and shook her head.
"You and I can never be together on Earth,"
she muttered. Grindex silently chilled the fuck out. "Why not?" Baron asked. "Just because you're a monster? There are a million witches like you there. You can all hang out in the occult section at half-price books. It'll be awesome."
"No, it's not that. It's my age. I may be 950 in Monsteropolis years, but in Earth years it's way, way less."
"Like, how less?"
"Like, you'll go to the booty house less." "Like, you'll go to the booty house less."
"Oh, crap. Well then, yeah, King Sia." Baron grabbed... "Oh, crap. Well then, yeah, King Sia." Baron grabbed Grindex and jumped into the portal. He looked back over his shoulder and saw Layla sadly waving goodbye. Hiata smiled and waved back, thinking about how he wished he hadn't taken her to the Bone Zone in a Party City dressing room. But what was done, and more importantly, geocontextually legal. Everything faded to glow in the dark and then black. Hit it. Bum 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 bum. Oh man. Alright, how's this old boy gonna talk? We'll figure it out. Chapter 48. As Baron and Grindex began the long jam back to Earth, they reflected upon their time in Monsteropolis while sweet credits music blasted in the background. It was kind of smooth jazzy but upbeat, which helped them feel sentimental about their adventure while not diminishing how action-packed it was. Baron thought about Layla. Grindex thought about playing video games and eating room service with his best buddy. While they reminisced, the names and sprites of all of Monsteropolis' monsters scrolled across the sky. Some were crazy surprising. For instance, the obese chef monsters were actually called Filet Majors, and there were tiny obese chef monsters called Filet Minors that Baron and Grindex never even encountered. They felt a bit gypped, but also kind of pumped because now Monsteropolis had some replay value. After the Boogeyman and a Winners Don't Inject Neon Vials of Monster Drugs message, sponsored by the director of Monsteropolis' Bureau of Anti-Pump, Harry Just Harold Skeener, Esquire, scrolled across the screen, everything faded from black to glow in the dark. There was a loud whoosh, followed by the sound of a kid's collarbone breaking and a bunch of crying. Suddenly, Baron and Grindex found themselves chilling in Pizzeria 64's ball pit. Everything looked the same at first, as ball pit technology is relatively static, but the more the two looked around, the more they noticed that this was not the same pizza parlor they had left behind. All the arcade machines were now based on crappy mobile phone games. The only pizza on the menu was an alkalized, gluten-free, non-GMO, non-allergenic, flavor-free nutritional paste 5D printed in any shape of your choosing, contingent upon a statistical prediction model demonstrating that a significant majority, p less than 0.05, of patrons will not be made uncomfortable by your choice. The music sucked. Worst of all, by the stage and wearing a dusty/decrepit party hat /Little Billy. Now he was Big Bill, a retired barber and grandpa whose only remaining thrill in life was an annual prostrate checkup. Baron and Grindex hadn't witnessed horrors half as terrible in a world of nothing but fucking monsters. Grindex tore through the ball pit and was halfway through the closing portal when Baron pulled him back out. The portal slammed shut with a soft stink. "No, Grindex," Baron growled. "Bad Grindex. We just went through all that bullcrap so we could party with Little Billy. And guess what? We're going to party with Little Billy." Baron leapt out of the ball pit and stretched his fretting fingers. "Are you the fellas from the cable company?" Big Bill asked with a shaky voice as Baron and Grindex busted up to him. "No, Little Billy," Baron said super loudly and slowly, since that's how old people like to be talked to. "It's your homies, Baron and Grindex. We're here for your party." "Marty, that dog's been dead for decades. She barked in the baby's face. We had no choice, damn it." Fuck. "Marty, That dog's been dead for decades. She barked in the baby's face. We had no choice, damn it. No, party. Jerry, the retarded little Indian boy who works down at Walgreens? No, party. Big Bill shifted and Baron heard a diaper crinkle. His pump faltered. Party, he enunciated. Spell it. P-A-R-T-Y. I know where Alabama is, Big Bill snapped. He squinted, then shifted again. There was a much wetter diaper crinkle. Grindax, Baron pleaded. Hey there, Billy buddy, Grindax tried, using the same tone he uses with cats. We came all the way back from Monsteropolis just to party with you. Remember us, Chaboys, Baron and Grindax? Afraid I don't remember much nowadays. Zaron and Bindleblacks, was it? Baron, actually, Grindax corrected. But yeah, I'm Bindleblacks. Greek. Big Bill stared off into space. Like I was saying, he continued after an awkward eternity, I don't remember too much anymore. Don't even remember why I come here. Just do, every day. Have for as long as I can remember, which, like I said, isn't anything to flick your wiener at. Just figure I must be waiting for something, and I'll know it when I see it. But you ain't it. So unless you want to pay my cable bill, you and your little Mormon friend can fart off. Baron had heard/smelled enough. He realized the only way to convince little Billy that it was party time would be to show him. So he kicked through a group of malnourished children who are allergic to everything and leapt onto Pizzeria 64's main stage. The original animatronic mascot band, the original animatronic mascot band, the Pizza Firebomb Explosion, stood there tinkering on the same instruments as before. But they no longer played along to Thriller, Somebody's Watching Me, or any other songs that easily could have doubled as tracks on a supermarket's Halloween playlist. Instead, they now played along to minimalistic instrumentation and auto-tune lyrics telling some generic baby how he or she is perfect/beautiful exactly the way you are, so don't even worry about your personality flaws or the comorbidities of obesity, and just be a dumpy, sassy jerk from now till your 25th birthday when you keel over because your heart is tired of trying to pump beef jerky to your limbs. To reach Big Bill, Baron would have to drown out the music. He would have to drown it. He'd have to bite gently on its fingernails and make little bird noises to lure it into a false sense of security before going crazy and biting super hard until the nails turn purple and split down the middle and shoot blood/cuticles all over the place. It was time to fucking party. Baron bypassed all power chords and began shredding a series of insane black metal solos on Grindax, who held the spider shriek so deep that the reverberations produced double bass drum sounds. It was ultimately cacophonic yet cacophony. It was ultimately cacophonic yet ultimately pumped. At that precise moment, ADHD metal was born. The Pizza Firebomb Explosion tried to keep up, but it was impossible. Because they believed there would be no point in pursuing music/life if they couldn't be the best, an insecurity instilled in them by their literal hell. Because they believed there to be no point in pursuing music/life if they couldn't be the best, an insecurity instilled in them by their literal helicopter parents, they started mercy killing each other. The drummer, a large walrus robot, grabbed his drumsticks and stabbed them into the neck of the generic Italian plumber bassist. With one quick twist, the plumber's eyes rolled into the back of his head and his lips curled into a smile for the first time since before the water backpack incident of 2002. The walrus returned the smile as his chest exploded, sending bolts and sparks flying into the crowd of horrified children. A banjo neck stuck through his heart gears and brought them to a screeching halt. Behind the gears and through the walrus's open back, a coonhound banjoist wept violently. "Fucking do it already!" he begged. The beautiful shark vocalist, with saltwater tears streaming down her face, acquiesced. She snapped her jaw around the coonhound's waist. His pupils widened, and with another chomp, he was cut into two rough halves. Oil and coolant poured across the stage, sending the shark belly sliding into the crowd. Oil and coolant poured across the stage, sending the shark belly sliding into the crowd. There were no band members left. To end her own misery, she would have to resort to suicide by technician and violate Law 1. She bit the nearest bystander, Big Bill. "You son of a bitch!" he yelled as her serrated teeth cut through his liver-spotted arm like unrefrigerated olive loaf. Old people tend to spit whenever they yell / chew / breathe / fight robots, and Big Bill was no exception. A stream of butterscotch saliva launched from his mouth down the shark's throat and into her bowel CPUs, causing a chain reaction that short-circuited everything but her robot shark boobs, which began to bounce like fucking crazy. Every gerbil-haired adolescent, dudes, chicks, non-binaries, dragonkin, etc., because this was a more modern time, immediately busted out their cell phones and filmed the scene for later use, because despite it being a more modern time, some things hadn't changed. Baron stopped playing Grindex and rushed to Big Bill's side, kicking aside the shark robot who was quickly dragged off to the ball pit by the ratty teens. "Little Billy!" Baron screamed. "Are you okay?" "Boy, oh boy, that was one hell of a party," Big Bill laughed. "Party? Shit. It's really you, isn't it? Baron and Grindex. I remember now. The fog is starting to clear, boys. I remember. Oh, I waited so long. And now we finally partied. And I finally got pumped. I'm pumped, dudes. I'm pumped. I'm going nuts." Big Bill sputtered, coughed up a bit of blood / applesauce, and crashed to the floor. Baron knelt and checked Big Bill's pulse. "I'm afraid he's fried eggs," he exhaled sadly. "What does that mean again?" Grindex asked. "He's dead, dude." "Dang." "Yep." "Well, good thing we both have a girlfriend whose specialty is undeading stuff." "Too soon, man," Baron sighed. He straightened Little Billy's party hat and placed gold tokens over his eyes. He then plucked one of the hairs from Little Billy's head and ate it so they'd always be a part of each other. Grindex understood the sentiment, but it still made him feel funny. Baron sheathed Grindex and trudged out of Pizzeria 64's ballerific birthday blastorium. He was on a pump roller coaster so nuts it could have only existed in Tokyo. On the one hand, he was bummed that Little Billy had become Big Bill and then Dead Bill. On the other hand, he understood that there were worse fates than frying eggs in the jaws of a robot shark vocalist whose boobs were going absolutely fucking ballistic. As Baron's pump coaster finally began to achieve equilibrium, a familiar voice called out to him and almost sent it flying off the tracks. Try that one more time. As Baron's pump coaster finally began to achieve equilibrium, a familiar voice called out to him and almost sent it flying off the tracks. Yeah, it's like a little more cliffhangery. You gotta have the cliffhanger, man. It's goosebumps. Chapter 49. "Hello, babies," the nasally voice rasped. It was the nerd ticket station attendant. He, like Big Bill, was now an old dude. Unlike Big Bill, and as predicted, he was a non-grandpa who had never dunked a basketball or made out with a babe or anything. So, he never had kids/grandkids, which is how that shit works. Baron and Grindex busted straight past him without looking over and bailed out of Pizzeria 64. They were done with bullshit for the day. Yeah, that's right, the ancient nerd chuckled insecurely. You better run, little boys. He was secretly devastated, though, for he had also... You better run, little boys. He was secretly devastated, though, for he also had been anxiously awaiting the duo's return. The moment he busted someone as badass as Baron over the difference between ESM-4 and ESM-5 had been the highlight of his entire life, and ever since then he had hoped to recapture the high of that day. But Baron hadn't even looked over at him, and now he was gone. And now the nerd had nothing to live for. He clutched his chest and collapsed to the threadbare neon carpet. As he lay dying, he realized that he would never be rich/famous, nor would he ever suck on a pair of babe nips. He'd always imagined that he would have all of those things. All it would have taken was one comic he never drew, one tabletop game he never designed, or one Let's Play video he never filmed to get crowdfunded for the millions of dollars he knew his ideas were worth. But he hadn't created anything other than a lot of trash and a lot of dump. He imagined the mountains of both that were his legacy and immediately vomited up a slurry. Of half-digested pizza queso dipper bites, the respective habanero ghost pepper ranch sauce, and a gallon of what he dubbed Call of Duty, a mixture of store-brand dew and sweet tea. He reached up to the passing moms and dads, whom he still viewed as grown-ups, even though they were all 30 to 40 years... He reached up to the passing moms and dads, whom he still viewed as grown-ups, even though they were all 30 to 40 years younger, but no one helped him because he was an ugly old man and an absolute stranger. They weren't wrong. After his mom and dad died in a car accident, he became a stranger to the entire world. He thought about his parents often. He thought about how much they had loved him, and how they had given him the last hug he ever felt, or would feel. He thought about how he played ESM-16 through their funeral because it didn't seem real, or so it wouldn't. He thought about how ever since their funeral, he dreamed of them almost every night. In his dreams, he and his parents were vibrant and happy in his childhood home, where nothing had changed. But then he would awaken in his dark studio apartment and remember that everything had changed. Someone else was living in that house, and his parents weren't living at all. Before he could cry, he would reach for his phone and escape from Sideburn Mountain. Escape from everything. Tears welled in his eyes, but his phone was on the ticket redemption counter, and he was on the floor. He cried openly. The world continued walking by. He wondered if there would be an afterlife, where maybe he could see his parents again, where maybe he could do things differently. Just do things. He felt a twinge of hope, but it was quickly ripped away by the realization that if there were an afterlife, he hadn't done anything to deserve a good one, or a bad one. He vomited again, but this time it caught in his throat. He tried coughing, but nothing came up. His esophagus burned. He couldn't breathe. He began to count backward, a technique that always calmed him down when he began to count backward, a technique that always calmed him down whenever he couldn't play ESM because it was updating. It didn't help. Try that again. He began to count backward, a technique that always calmed him down whenever he couldn't play ESM because it was updating. It didn't help. Panic set in. He could feel his heartbeat in his eyes. He thought of a continue screen. He began to count faster. Fuck yeah, we're finally home! Baron yelled as he and Grindex jet boot descended to their... Oh my gosh, I got that so good. Fuck yeah, we're finally home! Baron yelled as he and Grindex jet boot descended to their ratty apartment complex. Bricks were cracked and missing, the roof was blanketed in beer bottles and dead birds, and the pool, despite its sorry clothes sign, was filled with chubby kids wearing t-shirts and splashing waterlogged bees/wasps at each other. Alright, gotta chill. Bricks were cracked and missing, the roof was blanketed in beer bottles and dead birds, and the pool, despite its sorry clothes sign, was filled with chubby kids wearing t-shirts and splashing waterlogged bees/wasps at each other to see who would get stung first. Everything was almost exactly the way Baron and Grindex remembered it. The only thing off, both figuratively and literally, was their front door. It's probably fucking unusable, boys, but we'll see tomorrow. I want to get through this. Chapter 50. The duo cautiously but piss-pumpedly busted into their living room/dining room/kitchen. It's a pretty shitty apartment. "Oh, fuck knockers," Grindex shouted. "What? What'd you see?" Baron replied. "Nothing. I just remembered that we forgot to give LB the pocket knife." Before Baron could respond, a cupboard door exploded open, and an almost perfectly spherical child spilled onto the laminate floor. He grunted, stood up, brushed cookie crumbs off his tattered cloak, and attempted to wipe the snow cone syrup off his face, but instead got a bunch of cookie crumbs stuck to it. He then waddled silently, except for some asthmatic wheezing, toward Baron, who wielded Grindex and fingered a bar cord in anticipation. The kid stopped short and pulled a crumpled piece of notebook paper from his cloak. He grunted again, and then struggle-read in his best Rodney Dangerfield voice. "Yo, Dark Pops!" That's kind of Grindex's voice. Yo. Alright. And then struggle-read in his best Rodney Dangerfield voice. "Yo, Dark Pops! Hey, how the hell are ya? Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, you maybe thought you had pumped into adventure, but Mom says you should probably see something. To see them too? To see them too." The kid definitely had ADHD, but Baron wasn't about to accept The kid definitely had ADHD, but Baron wasn't about to accept some shit that required time and money without being 100% sure it was his. He walked over to the kid and snagged the note. The scent of hot sauce and witch boobs danced off the paper and into his nostrils. Baron had no idea what the kid thought he was reading, as the letter contained a message that was far more articulate/intense.
"Baby Ron, baby Baron, is yours now because he's annoying as fuck and I can't deal. Heart, Layla, mommy blogger and amateur nutritionist. Actually, expert nutritionist."
Oh yeah. Bonk.
Mommy blogger and amateur nutritionist. Actually, expert nutritionist.
It's good enough. Chapter Infinity. Baron slapped 5 hard with his kid, whom he renamed Ultra Slaughterhouse because there was zero fucking chance he was going to raise a kid with baby in his name. Baron, Grindex, and Ultra Slaughterhouse didn't know what lay ahead of them. Baron, Grindex, and Ultra Slaughterhouse didn't know what lay ahead of them. They might go on a quest back to Monsteropolis to find Layla and ask for some fun money. They may collect half-full cans of soda /beer from construction sites, and then pour the contents over crushed ice and sell them as homemade snow cones from a stand outside a minor league baseball stadium. Or they might just kick back and watch cartoons on VHS until their buttholes hurt. No matter which adventure they chose, it was destined to be pumped as fuck. Yeah, man. Listen to this.
Be pumped as fuck.
And then you're just alone in your car, like, fuck. Now what? Now what do we listen to? Luckily, there's a bonus chapter. I guess I have to... Chapter Codes. 2235-EFAF, Infinite Pump. A23F-7464, Infinite Health. A26A-A7A A26A slash A26A-87A7, Infinite Lives. Asterisk. SD33-8FDF, Infinite Jet Boots. BF2T-AABJ, Infinite Venom. AZ2T-AAA6, start at 1% health. 2 asterisks. J32T-AAB6, start with max snow cones. GP0A-AAB2, plays palette swap Grindax. NS4T-AAFN, accidentally walk in on your friend's mom when she's getting out of the shower. 3 asterisks. THNX-MANG, thanks for reading. It's so stupid. Thanks for reading. Notes, 1 asterisk. Game will freeze if you are bitten by the scarab of Mythangol. 2 asterisks. Whoever used codes like this is now either crazy rich or crazy dead. 3 asterisks. Not an accident. Not an accident. A little more pump, a little more flavor on that one. Sometimes I think it just needs like a little extra flavor, you know? Chapter 64 with expansion pack, alternate ending. The camera zooms over a bunch of fields and finally stops on a nest of boogeyman eggs in a barn somewhere. Nest of boogeyman eggs in a barn somewhere. Nest of boogeyman. Yeah. Cool. The camera zooms over a bunch of fields and finally stops on a nest of boogeyman eggs in a barn somewhere. Man. Oof. Well, we can say it's done. I hope you enjoyed. If you went back and watched this 10 years from now as a strange time capsule. It's not representative of our current time. It's an anomaly, but hopefully one you enjoy.